Jack was about to board his flight when he noticed something seriously creepy going on. Every other flight at the airport had been canceled, every single one except his. And it gets weirder. The departure time was an exact match to his birthday. That kind of coincidence sent a chill straight down his spine. Looking at the beat-up plane and the relentless downpour outside, Jack couldn't shake this awful feeling in his gut. Then out of nowhere, a familiar song started playing over the airport intercom, and Jack remembered all too well that every single member of the band that wrote it had died in plane crashes. For someone about to take off, that was about as bad an omen as you could get. For the first time, he seriously considered turning around and going home, but his classmate behind him gave him a hard shove right into the jet bridge. Suddenly, the sound of a baby crying cut through the air.
That's a good sign. Younger the better to be a fucked up guy to take down this plane.
Jack made it to his seat, but he still couldn't relax. Just then, 2 girls from his class asked if he'd swap seats with them. Jack said yes without thinking twice. What he didn't realize was that his new seat had a broken tray table. Soon enough, the plane was ready for takeoff. While his classmates were buzzing with excitement, Jack's face was clouded with this nameless dread. Then the plane hit some serious turbulence, but it didn't last long, and the plane leveled out and climbed smoothly into the sky. Jack let out a huge sigh of relief, but nobody saw what came next. A few minutes later, the plane started shaking again, way worse this time. The oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. The electronics in the cabin started shorting out. The cabin door, thanks to the pressure difference, just blew clean off. Jack watched in horror as classmate after classmate got sucked out, and there was nothing anyone could do. In moments, every last one of them was gone.
Could you trade seats with Blake so she and I could sit together?
Jack was completely freaked out. He bolted to the seat next to Todd's, and sure enough, the tray table was broken, which meant whatever he'd just been through might not have been just a hallucination. His outburst caused total panic. Trying to shut him up, Mike marched over and decked him. As things got more out of hand, the captain politely had a few of them removed from the plane.
Go check him out, see how he's doing. Okay.
Lisa, who'd seen the whole thing go down, got off with them too, given the scene they'd just caused. No matter how much the teacher pleaded, the captain wasn't budging. So 1 teacher and 6 students stayed behind on the plane.
Oh wait, I didn't fight with anyone!
Watching the plane taxi away, Mike and his girlfriend looked totally crushed. That's when Jack told the teacher everything he'd seen.
The plane! It's gonna blow up! It's gonna blow up! You trip your taking the fucking off!
The 2 of them got into another shoving match, and while they were going at it, the unthinkable happened. The plane actually exploded. Everyone on the ground stood there in stunned silence. Federal investigators showed up at the airport in no time. Since Jack had predicted the explosion, he naturally became suspect number 1. But since they hadn't figured out what caused the explosion yet, the cops couldn't lean on him too hard. Still, Jack's premonition wasn't the only suspicious thing about this whole mess. There was also Lisa, who'd voluntarily gotten off the plane with everyone else.
You said you weren't friends with those that were. Why did you get off the plane?
Because I saw and I heard Alex.
After some quick questioning, the police sent everyone home. Watching the news cover the search and recovery effort, Jack completely fell apart. After all, he'd lived through that nightmare twice now, back to back. And instead of getting any sympathy, his classmates and teachers at the memorial service looked at him like he was some kind of freak. But Todd was rock solid certain that none of this was Jack's fault.
Hey, look, when he gets over this thing, you and me, we'll road trip to the city, you know?
What neither of them could have guessed was that they'd never get the chance to talk it out, because that very night, the Grim Reaper came calling for Todd. The toilet started leaking water out of nowhere, and the puddle slowly crept toward Todd, who was busy shaving. Just as he was about to slip, Todd happened to turn around and head for the bathtub, but the water wasn't done with him. A clothesline whipped around his neck and yanked tight. And just like that, Todd was strangled to death right there in the tub. Then, in the creepiest twist, the water that had leaked out of the toilet flowed back in like nothing had happened. Meanwhile, Jack was racing over to Todd's place. About 10 minutes earlier, that bad feeling had hit him again. An owl landed at his window. A scrap of magazine paper drifted down onto his thigh. He picked it up, and of all things, it had Todd's name on it. Jack knew right away something was very wrong, and he tore out of there to get to Todd's. But by the time he arrived, the cops were already on the scene.
Get out of here!
The next day, Jack tracked down Lisa's house. He had a million questions about this girl who seemed to come and go like a ghost.
Why were you at Todd's house last night?
At that moment on the plane, I felt you felt.
Turns out Lisa had a sixth sense too. She could tell when danger was coming, but she couldn't tell exactly what kind.
You can still feel it, can't you? Something from that day is still with you.
Looking at where things stood, they weren't out of the woods yet, but it didn't mean they were doomed either. The clues that could help them slip past death were hidden in the little details of everyday life.
But to see him again, one last time, maybe I would know.
Then let's go see him.
So that night, Jack and Lisa snuck into the funeral home. But before they could get a good look at Todd's body, an employee showed up.
I'm his friend, and
I know who you are. Your friend's departure shows that death has a new design for all of you. Now you have to figure out how and when it's coming back at you.
His words flipped a switch in Jack's head. He started obsessively scanning the room for clues. And right then, another wild coincidence happened. The rest of the survivors all randomly showed up at the same place. Jack was about to share what he'd figured out, but the second he mentioned premonitions, Mike lost it.
Both of you! I'm moving on. And if you want to waste your life, then you can just drop fucking dead.
Jack was floored. He'd just predicted exactly how Mike's girlfriend was going to die. But what he couldn't figure out was, in what order were they going to die? That's when a news report on TV caught Jack's attention. The crash had been caused by aging parts inside the plane. But what really got him was that the explosion had started right where Todd had been sitting. Jack pulled up his memory and started mapping out where each of the survivors had been seated. Sure enough, the order they were dying in matched the path the explosion had taken through the plane. And next on the list was their teacher. So Jack hauled it over to her place. What he didn't see coming was that she'd spot him acting weird and call 911 on the spot. While he was checking her car for any potential dangers, the cops rolled up at the worst possible moment. Jack got hauled down to the station for questioning. He came clean about why he was creeping around her house and told them their teacher was probably going to be the next one to die.
Go ahead. Get out of here.
The cops weren't doing this because they bought his story. They just didn't have anything to actually hold him on. Meanwhile, the teacher was trying to wind down with a stiff drink, but the glass cracked out of nowhere. As she ran around the house in a panic, the liquor splashed everywhere. Eventually, she ended up in front of her computer, where the alcohol shorted out the motherboard. As she stared at the smoking machine, totally bewildered, the computer exploded. A shard from the monitor lodged itself in her neck. Then sparks ignited the alcohol on the floor and started a fire. She reached for a rag on the desk, but ended up knocking over the knife block instead. A blade plunged straight into her chest. That's when Jack burst in. Trying to save her, he yanked the knife out. A colossal mistake. When he saw she wasn't moving, he realized just how badly he'd screwed up. He bolted out of there, but the damage was done. Footprints at the scene, his fingerprints on the murder weapon, and a witness on top of it all. Jack was now the prime suspect in his teacher's death. But there was a silver lining. After this, the other survivors finally believed him.
Who's next to see it? It's me, right? That's why you're not saying.
Jack didn't deny it. That sent Mike right over the edge. If they were all going to die anyway, he figured he might as well pick how he went out. So Mike kicked off this whole string of suicidal stunts. But to everyone's shock, he came out of every single one without a scratch. Finally, he just parked his car right on the train tracks. The other three jumped out fast.
It's not the way! Get out of the car! Come on!
The thing was, Jack had already seen the train coming, which meant Mike was destined to die under that train. After everyone begged him, Mike finally agreed to get off the tracks. But then, to his horror, the car wouldn't start. He tried to bail, but the doors locked themselves and the seatbelt pinned him to the seat. Without thinking about his own safety, Jack rushed in and hauled Mike out by force. Mike was saved. But what no one realized was that Death's design wasn't going to be canceled by a little setback like that. As one of their classmates got their head taken clean off, the truth finally clicked for Jack. Because he'd intervened, Death had skipped over Mike and gone straight for that classmate instead, which meant if each of them could dodge Death's scythe just once, maybe none of them had to die. Going by the order, Jack was up next. Right then, sirens started blaring all around them. To keep the cops off his back, Lisa stashed him in her cabin. Jack carefully secured every single thing in the place that could possibly hurt him, even put a basin of water under the kerosene lamp, just in case.
But I got this cabin rigged to beat you now!
But Jack waited a whole day, and Death never made a move. Then it suddenly hit him.
Krista asked me to change seats, but I never moved. I would have been up next to Todd.
That meant he wasn't next at all. Lisa was. Over at Lisa's place, lightning struck the power pole right outside her house. Then her dog started messing with the live wire. Lisa freaked out and rushed downstairs. Just as she was unhooking the dog's leash, death finally came for her. She scrambled back up the ladder into the house, but every appliance inside started exploding all at once. She made a desperate dash to the garage, hit the gas, and tore out of there. But then a high-voltage line dropped right onto the car and sparked the gasoline nearby. The whole car just died on the spot. Thank God Jack showed up just then.
I am not gonna let it beat us both. You know what to do.
In the end, Jack sacrificed himself to save Lisa. He was rushed to the hospital. 6 months later, Jack, Lisa, and Mike were sitting in Paris, the city they should have been in half a year ago. There was this heavy, unspoken sadness hanging over all of them. But one question had been eating at Jack for the past 6 months. He'd stepped in to save both Mike and Lisa, but nobody had stepped in for him. Did death just forget about him? The second he said it, that dark feeling crept back in. In an instant, everything around him felt like it was teeming with danger.
I'll meet you guys back at the hotel, okay?
Lisa seemed to sense it too. In the chaos, Mike pulled Jack out of the way, but then...
I told you were next. It just skipped me. So who's next?